Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me today for our webinar, Growing Your Mailing List. My name is Jill, and I'm the Training and Education Manager here at Vertical Response. And today I'm going to take you through some reasons why you should be building your mailing list, and then also tips on how to do that. Before I get started, just a couple things. First of all, this webinar will be about 40 minutes long. At the end, there will be time for Q&A, so if you do have some questions along the way, go ahead and type those into the box that you see in your GoToWebinar window, and I'll be happy to answer as many of those questions as I can at the end of the webinar. Also, one of the questions we get at every webinar is this being recorded? And the answer is yes. I am recording this. I will put this up on our help site on the Recorded Webinars tab next week. And I'll also include the slides if you would rather just look at the slides, but those will be up on the help site in about a week. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So this is what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to go over why you want to build a mailing list, and then I'm going to give you ideas on how to do that online, through email, or in person. And then I have some resources at the end, and as I said, there is time for Q&A. So why do you want to build a mailing list? You of course have something probably already, but you need to continue to build your list. As you can see by the stat at the bottom of this slide, up to 28% of email addresses become unreachable within a year. It depends on the addresses you're mailing to and the industry that you're in, but you tend to lose quite a few addresses in your list due to attrition every year. So you want to be continually growing your list to help replace those lost addresses, as well as to build your mailing list to be larger. The more people you're reaching, the more people who are going to be able to interact with your company or organization. Your emails are there for you to help build a relationship with your recipients. So you want to make sure that the list that you're building is a good list. By having people sign up to be on your mailing list instead of purchasing a list, you're starting that relationship already. Vertical Response does not allow anyone to use any kind of purchase or rented lists in our system. We do have some strict rules about lists. We also don't allow any kind of harvested addresses to be used. That's against our policies as well as the CAN-SPAM law. So you do need to be thinking about how to grow your mailing list pretty much all the time. And there's some things that you can put in motion that you can do once and then you can forget about it and it'll just grow by itself. But some things you're going to have to do on a pretty regular basis. You want to also make sure that as you're growing your list, of course you want to have a larger list. The larger the list, the more people you can reach. But you also want to have a quality list. So the people on the list should be people who are engaged in what your company is doing and interested in the things that you're sending to them. So once you start building your mailing list, you want to make sure that you're good to your signups. When people are signing up to receive your emails, you want to let them know ahead of time by setting expectations of what they're going to expect. Tell them how often you're going to be mailing. Tell them the type of information that you're going to be including in the email, so what they can start to expect. And then once you set those expectations, you need to follow through and don't abuse that list. One of the reasons people are very fearful to send out their email addresses is that they're afraid that somebody's going to sell their address or give their address away. So if you adopt an email privacy policy, and that's something that you could put on your website, at the sign up area you could say, we never sell your address, we keep this safe. That is a big fear for a lot of people. They don't want to get spam or have their addresses sold. So make sure this is something that you adhere to, and then people will be more likely to give you the information that you need for sending out your emails. Also, you need to respect the unsubscribes, and most people do. For one, it's required by the CAN-SPAM law. There has to be an unsubscribe mechanism, and if somebody asks to stop receiving emails, you have to unsubscribe them. But it's hard to lose somebody from your list because they've chosen to not want to look at it anymore. So you just need to keep in mind that there are always going to be some people who decide maybe they don't have time to look at your email anymore and they're going to unsubscribe. Maybe they forgot why they signed up and or how or when, and so they just unsubscribe. You know, it's just going to happen. You don't want to try to work around unsubscribing in our system or just unsubscribing in general because of the canned spam law. As well as, you know, people will get really annoyed if you start mailing to them from your personal account if they've unsubscribed through your VR account. So it's better to have a couple less addresses than be considered a spammer. So now we have some idea here of what we're going to do. So we want to have a quality list, and we also want to make sure that people know what we're going to be sending out. So let's start building the list. Some of these ideas are going to work well for you, and some of them may not necessarily apply to your business or to your organization, but there should be something in here, or a couple of somethings in here, that will help get you started, anybody to get started building their list. And then at the end of this webinar, I have some resources that will also give you some more ideas on building your mailing list. So building your list online, this is going to be the first thing that we tackle. If you've already established a business relationship with somebody, you can mail to them. And what I mean by this is, you know, maybe you've been sending out a print newsletter if you're a nonprofit, for example. Maybe they've made a purchase from your company, they've made a donation, they've volunteered, they've attended an event, or actually asked to be put on your mailing list. Then these are people who have a working relationship with you, and you can mail to them. They've given you their email address in probably one of the things that I just mentioned, and so you have their address. You can also start building your list by exporting your list of friends and maybe business colleagues and start mailing to them, especially if it's people that you know well, whether it's business or family or friends. You can ask them if they want to share your email, and that can help grow your mailing list as well, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But you also want to make sure that you include the value that anybody's going to be getting when they sign up to get your email, and then they'll probably want to join your list pretty quickly. So another option for building online, and we do talk about this quite a bit, but it's something that's important to keep in mind, and that is using an opt-in form. Vertical Response provides opt-in forms in the account. They're free to set up. You can collect any information that you like. You can put that opt-in form, once you've set it up, wherever you want to put it. You can put it on your website, you can put it on your blog, you can use it in social media. The screenshot on the right here is our opt-in form on Facebook. You can add it on Facebook. I've included a link in here on how to add an opt-in form to Facebook. The easiest way to get to that information is to go to the help site, help.verticalresponse.com, click on the tab that says social media, and then click on Facebook, and you'll find the information on how to put the VR opt-in form on Facebook. Once you've added your opt-in form online, the information will be collected in your Vertical Response account in a list, and then you can start mailing to those people once they've signed up. I have some other screenshots on here. The one on the left says get our newsletter, stay current with email tips and best practices delivered once a week. So that's what I'm talking about, where you're setting expectations. This email is going to be sent once a week, and there's going to have email tips and best practices that are going to be in that newsletter. And it also says your information will only be used for our newsletter. So there's a couple of things right there that's setting expectations for the people who are signing up and easing their minds that their email address is not going to be purchased. Now, one of the things that you want to keep in mind when you're using an opt-in form is that you really want to collect only the information that you're going to need for whatever your purpose is. Obviously, you need an email address, and then any additional information that you might need for your organization or company. But the less information you ask for or require on a form, the more likely people are to fill it in. Again, people are somewhat reluctant to give out personal information. If they feel it's okay to give you their email address, they will. You know, maybe you want to ask for a first name. So if you're going to personalize your emails going down the road, you can have the first name for that information. Otherwise, you don't want to ask too much because that will be off-putting to people. If you're thinking about doing direct mail at some point, you might want to ask for a postal address, but again, that's a lot of information that people may not want to fill in. So one of the things you could also do is just ask for a zip code, and then you can use that information for segmenting your lists and do a lookup for an address, but you could also, at a later date, ask for that type of specific information. So if you do decide at some point that you want to do direct mail and you need postal addresses, you could send out an email and ask the people on your list if they want to receive special offers in the mail or something like that, or if you're going to start sending a paper newsletter. So the thing to keep in mind is if the more you ask for, the less likely people are to fill in the whole form. Also, using an opt-in form on social media is a great way to help grow your mailing list. Obviously, social media is huge right now, so including it anywhere that you think that people will find you. Facebook, obviously, is an easy one to do. If you're using Twitter, you can use a link in your email, and I'll show you how to do that later on in this webinar, but you can include a link in the email where people can sign up to be on your mailing list, because Twitter is kind of a different thing with the 140 characters and you don't really have a website. But you can still collect email addresses from Twitter. If you're doing blogs, great way to do it. Even video. If video is right for your company or organization, and really it is for a lot of companies, you can include information at the end of a video that you have on YouTube, for example, where people can sign up to receive your emails. And YouTube also allows you to set up a company page. So again, that's a place that you could add information about signing up to be on your mailing list. So depending on what your industry is, you could also offer special downloads for people when they come to your website, and you can require an email address for them to get that information. You could send it to them, or you could just say, we need your email address, and then you can download it. So things like how-to guides or white papers are great things that people are interested in. You know, maybe you have tips for using your service or using your products, and you can have people give a little bit of information in order to get that type of resource for them. Just make sure that they understand that they're going to sign up to be on your mailing list. I think most people would know at this point that if they're giving you an email address, they're probably going to be added to a mailing list. But, you know, it doesn't hurt to let people know that. This screenshot is of our marketing guides page. If you have a vertical response account, you can just click the Get the Guides, and we'll see the cookie that you have, and you can just go in and get the guides. If you don't have a VR account, you do need to just put in a little bit of information, and then you can download guides and get started with using our system. You can also do a contest or a giveaway, and it could be something like an iPad, or it could be something a little bit less expensive or a little bit less crazy for people to be getting as a prize. But something that will get people talking about your company, especially talking about your company on social media. Again, social media is such a public thing these days that having people talk about you on Facebook can be a good thing and can help drive signups for your mailing list. We've done a couple of things here at Vertical Response. We frequently do video contests, and those are pretty fun. People like to do videos. We have one going on right now called Teen Tycoon, which has not been a list building thing because teenagers are not really email marketing people. But it is something that your company can have people do. They could do like a 1-minute video about why they like your company, why they like your nonprofit, how they use your products, things like that. And then ask them to send the videos, and you can share them on your Facebook page and have people vote. And you can, again, include information on your Facebook page where people can sign up to receive your email. It's just a way to kind of get information about your company out there. And again, especially on social media, things are so easy to find on Facebook or Twitter that it's a great way to get people to come to your website or your blog and sign up to receive emails. So I'm going to talk a little bit about SEO. since we're talking about growing your list online. One of the things that you might be thinking about in your mind right now is, okay, I can put an opt-in form on my website, but how do I get people to go there to sign up to be on my mailing list? I can't send them an email to do it. And that's a legitimate question, and it is something that, we get asked about a lot. You can send postcards to people if you have their postal address and ask them to sign up to be on your mailing list when they get to your website. But also making sure that your SEO is set up correctly and set up well will help drive traffic to your website in the first place so that people can sign up to be on your list, as well as to find information about your company and maybe make a purchase. So SEO, hopefully you know what that is, but SEO is search engine optimization. And basically what it is when you're doing a search for your company, the words that people use to find your company or industry are keywords. And so you want to make sure that your website has those keywords available so that you get pulled into the search results. So for example, vertical response, one of our most important keywords are email marketing, because that's what we do. So we need to make sure that the words email marketing show up in a variety of places on our website so that when the programs that search websites for these search engines are looking at our website, they'll pull in vertical response to be part of the search results. So you want your company to be part of the search results for whatever your industry is. So you need to think about what the keywords are that are important for your company and for your industry, and make sure that you can be found by search engines. That's probably one of the easiest things for you to do and one of the hardest things for people to understand, I think. We've done some webinars on SEO. We have a blog post actually that went live yesterday and one later this week about SEO. And it is something that's important and that you need to think about for your website. This is the sort of thing, it's called natural search. So when people are just searching for email marketing, for example, vertical response needs to be up there at the top, and not because we've done a purchase, but because we've used the right words for people to find us. So that's something to keep in mind when you're creating your website. And like I said, we do have some resources available for you to help you get started with SEO. You can also use Google AdWords, which is actually purchasing. So you can have one of those purchased ads that pop up. If you look on the right-hand side of Google, and also now at the top, there's like a yellow box. Those are purchase searches. So it depends on the words, how popular they are, how much you spend, but you can purchase certain keywords, and then when those searches are done, your company will come up in those paid search areas. Another thing that you could do as well is do the ads on Facebook. The Facebook ads are a little bit less than doing Google AdWords. And you can ask Facebook to target specific demographics. Facebook has, unfortunately, a lot of information about everybody. So, you could target people who live in a certain area, people who have certain interests set up in their profile, certain genders, if you think your product or services are related to specific genders. And then Facebook will put your ad to the right people. And that can, again, help drive traffic to your website. It's a little bit less than doing Google AdWords, and you can target people a little bit more than Google AdWords. But those are some ways to get people to come to your website, and then, again, they can sign up to receive emails when they're there, or maybe just make a purchase. So those are some online ideas for growing your mailing list. Growing your list in person is fairly easy. It's a little more personal that way. You'll know the people who you're adding to your mailing list. When you're doing list building in person, the one thing you have to keep in mind is that these are generally not going to automatically be added to your mailing list in any way. So you're going to have to get into the habit of regularly entering by hand the information that you get from the people who you're meeting in person. There are a couple of ways to do it without having to do it manually, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes, but for the most part, this might be a more manual process for adding people to your list. So if you have a front desk, maybe you're a nonprofit and you have somebody at a front desk, people come into your business, you can include an email sign-up form there. You can do a fishbowl, you could do a ballot box, or you could do a guest book. If a fishbowl, and I have a picture of a funny fishbowl there, but you know, if that doesn't really work with the way your company is, you can have a nice guest book where people can sign up to receive your emails. But this would be people who are coming into your company already for some business purpose, and they would probably be interested in getting your email. So that's something that you can add to a front desk area. Again, if you're doing a guest book or especially a fishbowl, you don't have to give away a free sandwich. But if you're doing a fishbowl, just make sure people understand that putting their cards in there will sign them up to receive emails from your mailing list. One of the coffee shops in the town that I live in has a fishbowl on their counter, and you can drop your business card in there and you can be entered to win one of their insulated tumblers which has their logo on it, which is kind of fun because it's a local coffee shop. But also you're going to be added to their mailing list so that you can receive the emails that they send out about coffee. And they're very upfront about that, but they do a drawing every week. The coffee cup probably doesn't cost them that much. And it's kind of a fun thing, you know, because you can get a free coffee cup and you can get their fun newsletter. So you can do little incentives like that with a fishbowl too if you want to try to encourage people to be added to your mailing list. Again, this is going to be something that's manual to put them on your mailing list. So you want to do, you know, it depends how often people are signing up. It might be something that you need to do daily if you get a lot. It might be something you do weekly. Maybe every 2 weeks you input them, but you also want to make sure that you send them a welcome email as soon as you get them into the mailing list so that they don't forget that they signed up to receive your emails. And so that helps keep your list clean and they don't unsubscribe because they're expecting to get the emails. So you really want to send a welcome email pretty quickly, especially when you're doing something like this where people might forget that they dropped their business card. If you have forms that people need to fill out, for your organization, go through your paper forms and make sure that anywhere that you're asking for contact information, that you're including an email address. And again, you can tell them you can start sending emails to them if they give you an email address. That makes it a little bit easier for them, a little bit easier for you. But this would be something that would work really well if you're a nonprofit because sometimes there are forms that you need people to fill out. Or even just, you know, a regular business, if you're selling a product or you're selling a service, any kind of form that somebody might need to fill out. That's something that you want to start thinking about, collecting email addresses there. If you are having an event of some kind, and whatever that event is, if it's a big party, if you're doing a fundraiser, if you're doing a golf tournament, if you're doing a conference, a trade show, a concert, whatever kind of event that your company or organization might be putting on, ask for email addresses when they sign up. Again, just let them know that they'll start receiving emails from you, but it's pretty easy if you're using our event tool to add that as part of the ticket purchasing process because you can ask specific information from people when they buy tickets. And so one of the things you can ask for is email address. And also when they go to check in for your event, you can ask for email address at that point as well and add them to your mailing list. So it's another way to reach people to get them to give you their email address. So if you go and do presentations, for example, we do that a lot here at Vertical Response, or you're asked to attend a conference as a guest speaker or something like that. You know, when you talk to people, ask them for their business card and tell them that you can add them to your mailing list. If they're there to listen to a presentation that you're doing, they're probably pretty interested in what it is that your company or organization is doing. And so they'll be pretty interested in getting more information from your company or organization. Along the same track, if you have a business card, I think most people do, you can put an offer on the back of your business card and ask people to sign up for your newsletter. This is one of our customers, and she added this to the back of her business card, which is normally a blank spot. Sign up for our newsletter and receive 25% off your next purchase. And then she has her URL in the front, and you can go to her website and sign up for her email there. So that's a great use of the back of a business card. You could also include social media sites on the back of your card as well, your Facebook page, Twitter page. And again, as long as you're including a sign-up form there, that'll also be a great way to help get people to sign up to receive your emails. So if you are attending a trade show or a conference, there are obviously plenty of ways that you can collect information as well. One of the obvious ways is that you can just have people manually sign up to be on your mailing list. So have like a clipboard or sign up book at your booth, and people can sign up to receive your emails that way. A lot of trade shows or conferences will have a scanner that you can borrow or rent, however they do it. And you can scan badges of people who come to your booth and then collect their information, which is, I think now, pretty much always contact information includes email address. Most people who go to a conference or trade show and get scanned know that the scanner is scanning their information so that they know that they can get an email. But you can just also let them know that you'll send them an email. I do some of our trade shows and stand in our booth sometimes, and I usually just say, can I scan your badge and send you some more information from your email, and then people know that they're going to be receiving more information. So that's another easy way to help grow your mailing list. And then using the scanner, they usually give you all that information in an Excel file, so you can just upload that, so you don't have to do that one manually. There are also some handheld devices or apps that you can use on like your phone that will allow you to bump phones, and you can swap contact information just by bumping your phone with somebody. Also, if you have an iPhone or some phone like that, mobile device, or an iPad or some type of pad like that in your booth, you can have your sign-up form on that device, and then people can just sign up right there. So then it will just go straight to your account instead of having to wait for you to input that information into the system. Again, you want to make sure if you're collecting this type of information at a trade show that you follow up as quickly as you can. For a trade show, I would say probably 2 days after the show has ended, you need to be in touch with people. They're going to start forgetting all the people that they talk to, and they're usually pretty big and they probably talk to a lot of people, so you want to keep your company or organization in mind by sending out a welcome email pretty quickly. Also, anytime that your staff, if you have a staff, depending on how big your company is, ask them to ask customers if they would like to join your email list. So if you have a support team and they're talking to people on the phone, you can remind them that they can ask people to be added to your mailing list. So, have everyone in the company do this. This isn't necessarily just one person's job. Anyone who comes in contact with customers or potential customers can also participate in helping to grow your mailing list. So you can also grow your mailing list through email, which might sound kind of tricky, but it's actually not, and I have a couple ideas that will help you with that. So the first thing here on this slide says offer great content, nothing will build your list faster. And that's pretty true. First of all, having great content and the content that you promise the people when they initially sign up will help keep them engaged and interested in what you're sending to them. But also, the more interested they are in the content that you offer, the more likely they are to share the email, and that's where you can help grow your mailing list. So you can ask your recipients to forward your email to friends or colleagues, and you can easily include a forward to a friend link in all of your emails. I have kind of a generic look here on the screenshot on the right, but you can actually have your forward to a friend say anything you want. So it could say forward to a colleague, share this with colleagues, share this with friends. You can even use an icon. I know a lot of people will use a little icon like that looks like an envelope for their forward to a friend icon, and then you can just link it. What happens when you use our forward to a friend link is that the person who gets the forwarded email will have a little message at the top that tells them who sent it to them so that they don't feel like they're getting spammed. And then there's a link that gives them the option to be added to your mailing list. So again, it's pretty easy for you to add. You can set that up in your emails, and then you don't have to think about it, and people will just start adding themselves to your lists. Again, great content helps with that. The other thing is that when people do select the option to be added to your mailing list, it's going to create a new list in your vertical response account. So it's going to say F2AF, so that's forward to a friend, F2AF. And then it'll say the name of the email. So that's going to be the list name. And so you'll have a couple of addresses under that kind of strange list name, but you can just add that anytime you go to send out your emails. Just make sure you're mailing to the forward to a friend, and then you'll be growing your mailing list. The screenshot on the left just shows you how you can add the forward to a friend link, and you can put it anywhere you want in your email. You just click on the insert drop-down menu, and then forward to a friend is the link you can add. So you just click where you want it to go, and then click on that forward to a friend in the drop-down menu, and we'll just add it to your email for you. So I did mention including links to your emails and in your emails to your opt-in form. But think about the email signature that you have for your business. So you're sending emails or answering emails. People are sending you emails all the time. Think about the signature and the information that you have in your signature. Now, you don't want to go too crazy with email signatures. Sometimes people are annoyed by huge, long books that people write that they consider a signature. But you know, the people who you email on a regular basis for your business might also be interested in being added to your mailing list, and they may not be there already. So including a link in your signature where people can sign up to be on your mailing list is easy and a pretty good idea. If you're using our opt-in form, to get the link that you would use, go create your form and then click the submit button when you're looking at the form. And then a window will pop up and you can just copy the URL. That's what the screenshot is here. Just copy that URL. It'll start with oi.vresp. That's opt-in. That's what the OI is. And then you can use that link in your signature so that people can sign up to receive your emails. Also, when you're creating your email campaigns that you're sending out to your mailing list, you can include a link so that people can sign up. And that's on this slide as well. The reason you would want to include the link for people to sign up in your email is, again, Twitter has such a limited amount of space for you to add that sort of information. It's kind of hard to get people to sign up on your mailing list in 140 characters. So if you have the link in the email, you can share your email on social media and then people can sign up for that there. The reason you don't want to include a form in your email is that not all email programs handle forms at all. So some of them, the form will work just fine. Some of them, it won't work at all. And it's kind of an all or nothing thing. And there's so many factors, you know, it's like, are they using a certain browser if they're using like Gmail or Yahoo or Hotmail? If they're using Outlook, is the default browser IE? If it's not, then forms won't work. If it is, forms will work. So there's so many variables on getting forms to work in emails that just using the link instead makes it a little bit easier. And you can have just a little section in your email that says sign up to be on our mailing list or sign up to receive our newsletter, and just the same information you would include on your website so that anyone who might see it on a social media site can also be added to your mailing list. I have a screenshot here as well from our accounts. You can share your emails on social media, and you can share it on Twitter, you can share it on Facebook. And basically what we do is pull in your subject line, and then we create a short URL so that if it is on Twitter, it doesn't take up all the characters. And then that will post as your email is going out through our mail server, so everything's live. And then people who are following you on social media are going to be able to see your email. And if people are doing a search on social media, your company or organization will come up. So they may not actually be looking for your company, but they could find it and they'll be able to see your email where they can interact with the email as anybody would. Again, they could also sign up to be on your mailing list. So sharing your email on social media can put it in front of people who aren't already receiving it and can help spread the word about what your company or organization is doing. So to kind of start summing some things up here. So list building best practices. You're on the right track if you have sign-up forms on your website, on landing pages if you're using landing pages on your website, on blogs, on Facebook, anywhere that people can find you. If you're using an opt-in form, that will help make it easy for people to sign up. You want to give them a good reason why they should give you their email address. So, make it interesting for them to receive your emails. Let them know what they're going to get when they get the email. Again, help manage their expectations so that when you start mailing to them, they're like, yay, I'm happy to start getting this. And you're going to mail at the frequency that you promised, and you're not going to change that. And again, be upfront about privacy protection. People don't like to give away their email addresses if they're afraid their address is going to get sold. You're on the wrong track if you're buying a list of email addresses. And the screenshot there on the right is 2 million email addresses for $99. You know for sure those are not going to be very good email addresses. And again, it goes against vertical responses policy, but also it's not a great way to start setting up a relationship with somebody. If somebody opens their inbox and they see an email from a company they know they didn't sign up to get emails from, they think, oh my gosh, they bought my address. And that's probably not going to be a very good start for a relationship. They're probably going to be annoyed and not interested in looking at your email. So although it seems like the easy way out to buy a list, they're really not very effective. If people aren't expecting to get your email, then they'll delete it or mark it as spam. So you want to try to avoid all of those things. Harvesting email addresses, again, you can't use those type of addresses in vertical response, and it also goes against the CAN-SPAM law. And you also don't want to sell your own database because, again, people don't like that. So the last slide, a big list does not necessarily mean it's a productive list. So buying a huge list of 200 million addresses does not mean those 200 million or those 200 people or 200 million people are going to make a purchase with your company or donate to your organization. You are better off having a smaller but engaged list than you are to have a large list that people don't really look at your email. And again, content is king. It's a popular phrase, and it's popular for a reason. Content in your email is very important to help keep your recipients interested and sharing your email and helping to grow your list. So here are some resources for you, and I'm going to tell you a couple of things. As I said, we have a new blog that went up yesterday on SEO. Again, it's a big concept and some people are a little bit confused by SEO, but it's something that you want to make sure is set up correctly so that you can get people to your website. So if you go to blog.verticalresponse.com, you'll see our latest post on SEO, and there are also some tips on building your list as well on our blog. If you've never been to our blog, we have lots of resources there, and of course everything's free. It's our blog. We usually post 3 to 4 times a week. So there's lots and lots of information there that helps you with email marketing, just marketing in general, social media, anything that you need for your small business. We have that type of information at the blog. Our help site, always there to help you. So if you're setting up an opt-in form, there's text tutorials and short videos to help you with that, with your list. There's also some recorded webinars. So we have some older list building webinars that are up there. If you go to help.verticalresponse.com and then click on the webinars tab, you can find the list building webinars. There's also an SEO webinar that's up there as well. So if you're just getting started with SEO, it's actually really interesting, or I thought it was really interesting. I didn't know that much about SEO until I put together this webinar, and I had someone who handles all our SEO do the webinar. And so I learned a lot on that as well. It's very helpful. We also have a guide, and it's called 50 Ways to Grow Your List. Again, some of the tips may not be applicable to what your company or organization does, but there's 50 tips, 50, So there will be a number of things in there that are useful. Some that you saw here today, and then lots that I didn't talk about at all. And that's a free guide. So the easiest way to get there, I have the URL up here, but the easiest way to get there is just to go to verticalresponse.com, click on the resources tab, and then you'll see where the marketing guides are. Again, if you already have an account, just click the button and you'll go straight to the guides page. If you don't, you have to put in an email address. But that's all you have to do, and then you'll be able to take a look at our guides.